Hello and welcome to another week of On This Planet Earth. I'm Mark Gilchrist and I'm on the roof of my hotel in Saigon, Vietnam. It's pretty windy up here, I hope you can hear me. Ever since last week when I mentioned just a few minor differences between the way Americans and the rest of the world do things, people have been harassing me saying, Mark, give us more of that cool differentialia stuff, that stuff that's different. Okay, they haven't been doing that. But funny you shouldn't ask, because I have a whole program on it. Growing up in New England, the bathroom light switches were always on the outside, sometimes a bit awkward. Hadn't seen that since I went to Europe and to Southeast Asia. Most of the toilets I've seen out here have energy efficient systems, no flush handles, but two buttons, one for small loads and one for big loads. Very efficient on-demand water heaters has been popular in Europe for decades, and I've seen a lot of them out here in Asia. The squat toilet. We've been using them for thousands of years, and millions of people still use them around the world. Some doctors would even argue that it's better for your health. In fact, in some places you'll see signs that say, no squatting, because people will try and stand on the toilets, and that can be dangerous. I see a lot of buckets and scoops and showers around here for people who like to take bucket baths. It's kind of a space saver no-brainer to put the shower right in the bathroom. No curtain, no doors, no nothing. I found it pretty handy to have a switch on every outlet. I could turn things off without unplugging them. With the use of 240 volts here, the amperage is lower. Okay, that's technical, but what that means is you can use a much thinner wire. I can't say enough about the beds in Europe. I don't know why America doesn't have the fold-away couch beds that Europe has. They are incredibly comfortable. The beds I saw in Europe and Asia, they don't have top sheets. They encase the blanket in just like a big pillowcase with a zipper and wash that. And you can open them up and store stuff underneath. I haven't seen a closet in years. Most everything I saw in Europe and Asia is a piece of furniture, like an armoire. The lock sets I've seen here in hotels and homes are the very secure commercial type, where if you want to change the key out, all you have to do is replace the cylinder. This is just the craziest thing. You'd never see it in America. Padlocks on the outside of your bedroom or your hotel room. In Moldova, I didn't have any salt shakers, just a dish. If I needed some salt, I'd just take a pinch. Eggs is a fascinating story. In the U.S., apparently large egg distributors wash their eggs to the point they are susceptible to salmonella. So they must be kept refrigerated and are fresh for only a couple days. In the rest of the world, they don't wash them, and so they don't need to be refrigerated and can stay fresh for days or weeks even. Millions of people around the world still hang their clothes out to dry. Kind of makes you wonder how it might help the environment if 300 million Americans did that, even for just a week. I can remember not being able to imagine living without a vacuum cleaner. Well, millions of people still do. They just sweep their floors and clean their rugs often. Many parts of the world, fortunately, have not quite caught on to the near fetish that Americans have for mowing their lawns. In Moldova, they seem to cut their grass maybe twice every summer and collect the grass and feed it to their animals. The city I lived in, about 20,000 people, who really knows, only had about 2 lawnmowers. Places I've been, people say the day first, then the month, then the year. But Americans are different, and we switch the month and the day around. And we're also a little bit different with our names, using our given name first and our surnames last. We're also a little bit different with our grammar, switching our nouns and adjectives around. So this sentence, read by people in other languages, might read, "The fox quick brown jumped over the dog lazy." Many parts of the world use a 24-hour time system, whereas America's stuck on the 12-hour plus 12-hour day. However, I see very, very few analog clocks or watches with 24 hours on them. Why do we Americans put the weekend on the first and last day of the week rather than at the weekend, like the rest of the world does? Yeah, what started all this was a comment about tipping and how it's largely an American thing. You just won't see it around most of the world, especially when you get away from the tourist areas. Yep, sales tax around the world is included in the list price and not added on afterward. I'd have to say I like the American model better. It's more transparent and ultimately fairer. This was another startling sight also. The catwalks that I saw over city streets in most of Southeast Asia are not covered. They seem to live in a more innocent world out here. That being said, you can still buy a beer at a Burger King. They really overdo the single-use plastic thing in many developing countries. At the store in Moldova, you get free plastic gloves just for handling the produce. Budweiser is a popular brand out here and even comes in these kabottles, I guess you'd call them. In the cities, they'll have grocery stores on 2 floors, and you have to get your cart from one to another, so they have these cart escalators with clever little locking mechanisms for the wheels. And wheels? All 4 of them swivel on shopping carts that I've seen in Europe and Asia. Chopsticks are still popular out here, and you rarely see like butter knives. They pretty much cut everything up when it's served to you. Contracts for cell phones, I don't think they've ever had them in Britain and in other places. You just buy a SIM card and pay by the minute or gigabyte. If you are born in the United States, you are automatically a U.S. citizen. That is not really common around the rest of the world, where more of your bloodline determines your nationality. Also, I found that very few Americans have passports, at least compared to many European, Southeast Asian, and, well, smaller countries, where people visit other countries more often. Well, thanks for listening. That about does it for my report on how different things are in the U.S. and the rest of the world. And I've only scratched the surface. I'm Mark Gilchrist, and I am on this planet Earth. See how things are going down there. That's the view from my hotel. Look, a Circle K. And the sun's about to set over Saigon.